Good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon. I would like to thank, as usual, my viewers and subscribing. My viewers and subscribers for subscribing and viewing these videos. I want to thank you guys for all of your support, for the likes and comments. The text messages and phone calls that I get from time to time to say thank you for these videos. Um, it's definitely not easy to come on and actually talk about things that you experience and go through in your life, but if you can do it to help someone, or someone is getting something out of it to make their life better, why not? Um, Bible says, if I can help someone as I travel along the way, then my living shall not be in vain. And that's the good part about this. I always say it wasn't just a healing process for me, but it was also about helping someone else out. So I thank God for that. To my girls, Kavia and Nadia, I want to say hello. Um, Also, the name of this video is going to be Separation Hurts the Child. Separation Hurts the Child. That's the name of this video. I chose this topic for a lot of reasons. And like I always say, I always have to give bits and pieces of my situation, because if I don't know about it, then how can I talk about it, right? So here we go. All right. Separation in any type of relationship is always hard, depending on how the two people decide to do it, and the way they decide to do it is going to make a difference in the long run. Okay. And there's so many different type of separations. I mean, if it's a relationship where uh, the two people have been together for quite some time, but they're not married or engaged or anything. Um, I believe that emotionally, it would be harder for those two versus um, someone who has kids in that relationship, or if they do actually have, if they are actually married or engaged. I think if you're not married, then you're more uh, emotionally tied to that person, more so than a soul tie, because if you have kids, then you're going to have to deal with that person for the rest of your life, whether you want to or not. Some people say, oh, when they turn 18, I don't have to deal with them anymore. That's not true. You're always forever in that other person's life, because that child gets older. They may go to college. They may have kids of their own. Um, they have to get married. You one day will get sick. So that is going to be the time where everybody's going to have to be together. So when you see things like that, it's always a different way. I think if you don't have kids, it's easier, because you say that there is no strings attached. You don't have to bring baggage into the next relationship or anything. So it makes it that much easier from that perspective. But emotionally, you are still attached to that person, and it may take some time mentally for you to get over it. I think that's the only connection that you have there. Now, if you do have kids and there's a family and things like that, there's a certain way you have to do this. And like I said in my earlier videos back in, like, I don't know, December or January, I was reading a book by Pastor Dollar. Pastor Dollar, if no one knows who he is, he used to come on BET late nights back in the day, and I would watch him. He's a African American pastor. He and his wife, they wrote several books together, and one of them is a family book, and it talks about how marriage and separation and divorce and things like that. And I had a chance to read up on some of the things that he said. You have to come up with a plan. If there's a family involved here, you have to come up with a plan before you can actually separate. And if that plan is not executed properly and the right way, it can affect it can have its effect on everyone in the situation. Okay? Um but the person or persons that actually, or people that get hurt the most are the kids. Okay? That plan has to be executed the right way so that the kids don't see what is really going on, especially if they're young. They don't understand. All right. Um, and what I mean by that is they're going to eventually find out what happened. You know, um, in the future, there probably will be fingers pointed. Oh, this is what happened. This is how it happened. Or mommy did this, daddy did that type of thing. But right now, that does not need to happen. And if that happens, it will ruin that child. That child does not need to be exposed to those things because uh, right now they need to concentrate on school. They don't need to have to make a decision between mommy and daddy right away. There are so many things that they need to concentrate on without having to deal with what's going to happen to my family, you know, and that is the hardest thing for a child to have to deal with. Okay. So I just believe that in order for mommy and daddy not to expose that to that child right away, one of the things they need to do is they need to put a plan in play where life goes on, but they still get their family. You have to set some things up where it's, especially if you just separated right away, uh, you can't just say, "All right, I'm gonna be done with that person." The mom is done with the dad, or the dad is done with the mom altogether. So it's at that point where I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to see them. The child will notice that right away. They pick things up, and especially the kids in this day and age, the new generation after me, they are kind of smart. I'm not going to say kind of, they're very smart. They're intelligent. They have other resources, things that we didn't have growing up, and basically technology has helped them a lot more than it helped us. So the things that we weren't exposed to, they're already exposed to it. Okay, so we have to be careful on how we entertain what's going on between mommy and daddy. All right. Um, when I was growing up, my parents, they were married legally since 2002, and before that, it was common law marriage. Uh, since I was born, they were common law married, and so that put them in the radar of over 30 plus years. I think it was like 34, 35 years prior to my dad dying. And I remember my parents having to separate once. And in that, we did not notice that my mom and dad was separated. And it was only for about a year. I remember my dad having to stay with my grandfather for a while, but they put a plan in play where my dad would come and pick us up. We would go over to my grandfather's house, and he would take us for a weekend. I know that he was staying, back and forth with friends and things like that. So wherever he was, that's where we would go to visit him. And it worked. I mean, we never asked any questions because if we weren't with my dad, we were with my mom. They always believed that the child should always be with mom or dad. That way, the question doesn't come up if something happens, where were the parents? Okay. Um, and that's one of the things that I always admired about my mom and my dad because they never left us on people. We would always be either in the house together or with one of them. So when we got old enough to watch each other, that's how it was. And back in the day, I don't think that children and youth services really existed too much throughout our childhood because the law wasn't as strict as as it is now. So um, we always had mom or dad or both, and I thank God for that. Now time has changed. People think that as soon as you run into a problem, okay, I got to get a divorce. But what they don't really think about is what's going to happen to that child mentally, what's going to happen to them when they grow up, because now they have a complex of uh, marriage that, oh, my mom and dad didn't make it at such and such time and they got a divorce, so it might happen to me. I may not want to get married. I may not want to have kids because of that situation. Um, it sticks with a child even as they grow into their adult years. And the things that we don't think is happening to them, it's happening. It literally is happening. And I think that sometimes we as parents, we can be a little selfish. You know, we don't want to admit that this is going on. So we kind of block it or we don't want to see it. So it's something that we have to take into consideration because this child or these children need us in their life, whether you be mom or dad. There's certain things that we have to do as parents just to uphold them, and they need both parents. I'm just saying they really need both parents at all times. So when the time came for me to actually separate, um, I didn't have a choice. It wasn't something that I had a choice to do. It was something that I had to do. I was forced into it because of the situation. You know, um, Unexpectedly, my previous, she just basically said she wanted a divorce, and I didn't know why. Um, I always tell people, we had just celebrated our um, anniversary. We had just spent time together. There were so many things that we had done, and I did not know that this is what she was feeling, or this is how she was feeling at the time. So I had to go along with it. With all the injuries and things that I had, I would have never thought in a million years that I would be treated the way that I have been treated. But here and there, I had to go along with it. What else was I going to do? I couldn't cry. I couldn't, and because I was in a situation where I had nowhere to go, it put me at a situation with my girls where I'm out in the cold. So how was I going to be able to see them? How was I going to be able to communicate with them? Communication was cut off. Everything went one sided, and it put things at a standstill between husband and wife, and then not only that, father and daughters. And 9 times out of 10, in my household, being the only man, I'm by myself. So um, I did what I thought was best, where I thought that stepping back and allowing healing to come in would be the best thing. You know, um, I'm starting to see now that it's affecting my younger one very much so. It's affecting her very bad. I had a chance to see her today after I don't know, maybe 3, almost 4 weeks. I missed her birthday party. I wasn't invited. Um, these are the things you have to go through when you're separated or divorced from your significant other. So I was not invited. Um, I I had to take a lot of things into consideration just because of her. Um, Not only that, there was PFA that was put in play, so that kind of put things on pause and on hold with me and her relationship. I feel and I felt like I was losing a lot of time because she was 4 going into 5, and that's time missed. So a lot of things that I had to take a back seat to um, just wasn't fair. So today I seen her, and she was so happy to see me. I spent some time at the school with her and her classmates, and kids love me. What can I say? I mean, they get around me, they want to spend time with me and everything. And I had a chance to sit there and play some games with her and her classmates. But when it was time for Daddy to leave, um, that hurt more than anything because I had to hear and see my child screaming and crying, literally, about how much she wanted to go with daddy and things like that. And that hurts. Ask any man who has girls, and they will tell you that that will hurt a man that is trying to build that relationship with their child. I seen my dad have a good relationship with both of my sisters. They were his princesses, and he treated them as such to the day he died. So when I see my girls cry, it does something to me, especially the little one because she's young. She don't understand what's going on. To hear her say that this is what she wants and things like that. So one of the things I don't do is I don't take that illusion out of her mind that there is not any chance in the world that your mom and dad is not getting back together. It's not my job to do that. Even if that's the truth, I'm not supposed to say that to her. I'm not supposed to talk about her mom in front of her. I don't say bad things about her mom in front of her. I don't say things about her family members. I don't say things about her grandmother, her grandfather. No matter how much I'm being treated unfair, I would never do that in front of her because that will then uh, confuse her about the other side. Then it's like I have to pick and choose between my mom and dad, and then my mom and my grandmother and grandfather, and so on. So I never say anything bad about them around her. I never tell her, oh, it's never going to happen. I always tell her to pray, because one thing you have to understand, and I think my twin brother and I were just talking about this. There are such things as a blended family. I always tell her you can have your family back, but it takes work. It takes hard work, dedication, and maturity. Everybody has to be mature about the situation. Everybody has to accept certain things. There's a way that you have to do that. The way that you're introduced to those people is the way that the relationship might turn out. So if you did not set that foundation right away, then you're going to have a hard time trying to get that connection to be built. Okay? You cannot have something going on with someone else and then expect for the other person to say, all right, I could accept that and be around this person. It's going to take a long time because in that other person's mind, this person moved in on my territory while we were together. That connection is not going to work right away. In my situation, there's been a lot of disrespect. all the way around the board. Certain things that I wouldn't do, but it already happened. The other person did. So I have to accept those things because like I said in my other videos, I cannot blame the man. I can't blame him for anything that has happened. The disrespect that was shown to me by him personally, I could blame him for that. But the disrespect on a level of where she and I was, I can only blame her because it's what you told him. It's the picture you painted that made him feel the way that he felt. So I can't blame anybody but you for that. So the deeper you are, the harder it's going to be for that connection to even be built. You know, um, for me, I'm a easygoing person. I'm not a hard person to get along with. Um, there are certain things that I do expect, but I'm not like, oh, forget this person because it is because this happened, or they're with my ex or something like that. I'm not that type of person. I've never been. There's a lot of things that just don't get me upset and it don't get me mad. I can get along with anybody, and I'm not going to judge you based off of what someone tells me about you. I judge you off of how you treat me and what you say about yourself to me. I can only judge you based off of what you tell me about you. That's it. That's the type of person I am. So, um, a lot of things happen in my situation that shouldn't have happened, and because of it, that's why, you know, uh, my baby girl is going through what she's going through, and I feel so bad that she has to go through this. In her mind, she doesn't understand, so it's like she just probably feels like this is a temporary thing. It may not be permanent. And it's not my job to tell her anything because she cannot understand it yet. Now, when she gets a little older, then she's able to understand. I had a cousin that I spoke to a few weeks ago, and one of the things he said about him and his ex-wife is they waited. He said, we waited until the kids can understand to even move out of the same home together. At that age, it's so hard for them to understand and comprehend. And he was saying, I'm praying for you. I'm praying for your situation because, that little girl, you gotta understand that um, you're her hero. So in her eyes, all she wants is her daddy. You know what I mean? And I think it's like that with the boys and their mom. You know, so I totally understand what he was saying. It's my job to try to make it work to where I can see her by any means necessary because she needs that. And I had to see that today, but to see a child scream and holler, and for me to have to, uh, say to her teacher, hold her until I leave, and you know what I mean, daddy gotta go, and to hear her scream, daddy, daddy, and I have to walk out of the school. That's a hurtful thing, you know. And for any parent not to acknowledge that your child is hurting, then there's something wrong there. It's, and I think that so many parents get this twisted, and it may be just because it's a new age parent, because I never seen this with people my mom and them age, and I guess they call them the baby boomers. But if you really look at it, it was the time that was invested. Money did not control parenthood back in the day. If they had it, they had it. If they didn't, it was the time that they invested in us more so than anything. Now you got parents that really are concerned about what you are doing to provide financially for the kids. That is so unfair. If you have a good mother and a good father that wants to spend time with that child, I don't care if that father or that mother don't have anything financially to offer. And depending on their situation, you need to consider that anyway. It's overlooked. I invested so much time into my daughter, and that's why she misses her daddy. She's used to seeing daddy at home. She's used to having me there. She's used to having me cook for her. She's used to seeing me before bed, things like that. So when you look at that time that I invested is what she misses the most. And those are the things that she remembers about me more than anything. So that's why she's so used to having her daddy around. So to take her daddy away from her, it's a problem for her. Someone told me it's hard to take an active father out of the equation if they've been active since that child has been born, and I've been active. So this has been the hardest for me. I deal with it. But I say all of that to say this to my viewers and my subscribers. Be patient in this situation. Know that it's not all about you. Take self out of it. If you've been looking at my videos and you've been listening to me, I always say that take self out. Don't be selfish in the situation. Let's take the kids into consideration first. First and foremost, always take their feelings in consideration. Man, I've been seeing some crazy things happen to babies, and let me tell you something. They are precious. They are God's gift to us. So if we cannot appreciate them and we don't put them at the forefront of being nurtured and taken care of first, guess what? Do you think, and I hate to say this, God forbid it, but do you think that God will allow you to ruin that child's life? Seriously. He would rather have that child with him before he allowed the mom and dad to ruin that child's life because they want to be selfish. Selfishly holding the child from the mother or the father and things like that and using them as pawns. You think that God is going to allow you to keep that gift in your life? No. When he moves, he's going to move. Then there's nothing you can do about it. You have to sit back and you have to take it and accept it. He'll give you enough room to say, I'm going to give you that option, that choice to try to do it on your own. And until that day that you keep saying to yourself, oh, I'm going to do it my way, guess what? Okay, you think it's your way. You have to be able to acknowledge that it's not about you in situations like this. You made your decision. You made your choice. So now you have to live with it. If you are the person that has called the shots, then it's your job to try to come up with a plan so that everybody can benefit from that plan. That's it. There are certain things that I wouldn't do that was done to me, but if I was the person, then I got to come up with a plan so that everybody is able to get what they need out of this situation. The home, the vehicles, the finances, the items in the home, everything needs to be planned out. That's how it should be. And if it's not, then what ends up happening is someone gets slighted, and 9 times out of 10, it's the child. All right? I need y'all to think about that. Let that ponder for a little bit. I'm going to be back probably by Friday with another video. If not Friday, Saturday. All right? But y'all will see me again sometime this week. I thank y'all for listening. Take those words into consideration. Continue to keep subscribing and viewing. Take whatever resonates for you. Pass it on. Pass this information on. People need to hear about stuff like this. All right? If it ain't helping you, it can help somebody else. I love y'all. Thanks for listening. God bless. Peace.